This is Sonja Crystal Williams of SonjaCrystal.com. Thank you for listening and tuning in today. So, this is something new I'm trying out. This is my very first podcast series. I'm calling it 10-Minute Marketing. And what I'm doing with 10-Minute Marketing is just taking questions that I hear very common from a lot of business owners across the globe that they have about digital marketing. So, I've got a topic for today, but before we roll into the topic, I have a special guest that's tagged along with us today. I've got Marika Dye from Go Getter Marketing Group.
Hi, Sonia.
Hey,
How are
how
you?
good, thank you. So, Marika's going to help us out by just kind of facilitating the first question we have today that we're going to kind of pull out of our hat of questions here. So, Marika, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I have a new business and I want to get a website rebuilt that I already have, and then I have another website that I'm trying to build. So, what are my best options for both?
Okay.
Let's do the built first.
All right, cool. So this is a question I get a lot. What type of website should I be building? And even on another podcast, another day, because it's another
Mm-hmm.
conversation, we'll have a conversation about just how do you even go through the process of hiring
Mm-hmm.
someone to do your website. But if you are thinking about doing it on your own or just kind of examining how do I want my website built, there are a lot of platforms out there that you can consider. And so if you're bootstrapping and you're doing this on your own, I'm going to talk about four today. These are my top four website picks, either from a combination of just seeing a lot of business owners who have kind of gone the DIY route, doing it themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and the combination of deciding to hire a company to do it for you. So it depends, number one, on what is the purpose of your website? Is this a brochure type website? Are you trying to collect leads from this website? Is it an e commerce website? So, depending on the purpose, that will have a lot to do with which website is going to be the best option for you. There's four I'm going to cover today, and we've got 10 minutes, and we've already used about two or three, so I'm going to move fast. So we've got Wix, WordPress, Shopify, and Squarespace. Those are my top four picks. There are a lot of other options out there, but just based on those four, I kind of think those are the best options to either start with or to rebuild your website. All right, so let's run down the list. I'm gonna start with Wix. So Wix, Wix.com, for those of you who haven't heard of Wix, Wix has been around for a pretty long time. I first tried Wix probably 10 or so years
Mm-hmm.
ago, around the first time it started. And with Wix, it's evolved quite a bit. It used to be Flash based. Now it
Mm-hmm.
builds on HTML5 and sites are responsive and these things are very important when it comes to making sure that your website not only displays on a desktop, but also displays on a mobile device. So you want to make sure you're looking for some of those things, particularly that it's a responsive site. The nice thing about Wix, the reason why a lot of business owners like to start with Wix is it has a what you call what you see is what you get interface, meaning you can drag and drop different elements. So if you want to add an image or if you want to add text, it's very easy to drag and drop the pieces of the website that you want to come together. So if your style is one and where you say, "Hey, I really like to create things. I want a very beautiful visual site." The nice thing about Wix is that it can help facilitate that experience, but you do need to have some level of creativity if you're doing it on your own and have a vision of how you want it to go. So that's Wix. Now, here's, kind of drawbacks to Wix. And I say this in comparison to an open source site like a WordPress. You're not going to get all the plugins. Wix did launch a marketplace, I think probably a year or two ago, where it has a bit more functionality. And so if you have like a PayPal shopping cart and things like that that you want to add to increase the functionality of your site, it can help. I don't think Wix is as SEO friendly as some of the other platforms, so that's probably another drawback to it. And then, over time, if your big goal is to create a website that is generating a lot of leads for you, you would need to look for a marketing automation tool that can really help you facilitate gathering those leads. And if it's not something that could be embedded, it's probably not going to work well with Wix. So those are some of the downsides. But again, if you're just getting started, it's inexpensive and it's a great place to start to just be able to drag and drop. You don't need to know coding. All right, question.
Yes. Now, if I already have a website
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to get it rebuilt, can I move it to Wix if I decided I want to do Wix?
You could
Okay.
hire a developer to move your website over to Wix and redesign there. Again, it just depends on where your website was previously, if it makes sense to even move it over to Wix.
Okay.
Now, that'll roll into the next one, WordPress, because a lot of people I see will kind of make the upgrade. So maybe they
Mhm.
were on a Wix to
Mhm.
begin with and want to make the upgrade and jump over to WordPress.
Mhm.
All right, now there's two things to know when it comes to building sites on WordPress. There's a WordPress.com version, there's a WordPress.org version. WordPress.com, easy, starter, great for people who just want to have a blog, don't want to invest too much, easy to do yourself. WordPress.org, self hosted. You need a hosting account, HostGator, GoDaddy, one of those things, and then it needs to be custom built.
I saw on WordPress where they had a sale where you can use their hosting for a cheap price. Do
Mm-hmm.
you recommend that?
WordPress.com.
Yes, they
Yes.
have hosting too.
I would recommend it if you're just getting started. And so here's the thing to know about WordPress. WordPress is what's called open source.
Mhm.
So the challenge that I see, so I'll actually cover the cons on WordPress
Mhm.
first. The challenge that can happen with WordPress is your site can get hacked.
Mhm.
Not intentionally. The hacker didn't say, hey, I'm going to go to Marika's site and I'm going to target you and I'm going to
Mhm.
hack your site. It's just random. It
Mhm.
happens. So if you do go through WordPress.com
Mhm.
for hosting, it's less likely to happen because it's protected by their servers
Mhm.
versus if you're using another service.
Mhm.
So hacking, it happens. Whether your site's on Joomla, Drupal, WordPress, any of that could happen.
Question. I got my domain on GoDaddy, and they offer hosting too.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have a sale on that, do you recommend that, or do you think that hosting is good on? Because I know you mentioned HostGator. Is it good on GoDaddy
Mm-hmm.
too?
So totally your option, what
Okay.
host service you want to go with. But again, it's only going to apply if you're using a hosting other than WordPress.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to apply if it's self-hosted on WordPress.org.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the pros of WordPress. Extremely SEO friendly, meaning
Mm-hmm.
if you're using keywords in your site, if you're linking, then the likelihood of your site appearing on search engines when
Mm-hmm.
people go to Google and type on it, it's great. It
Mm-hmm.
increases much better. There's also a lot of plugins. What are plugins? Plugins enhance the functionality of your website. It allows you to add on extra tools and things without having to pay a developer a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
to custom develop some of those tools for you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to overload your WordPress site with plugins, it could crash. That's
Mm-hmm.
another con to a WordPress site. I've had it happen personally.
I have to.
So, those are some of the things to keep in mind with WordPress, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a great go to if you've done a DIY site on your own, you're
Mm-hmm.
ready to take it to the next level, you are tech savvy if you're
Mm-hmm.
doing WordPress yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or you're
I think
hiring
somebody else did
an
it.
agency or web design studio to do it for you. So it's kind of next level. Great for people rebuilding a site.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, Shopify. Perfect for e commerce. So I love Shopify for e
Mm-hmm.
commerce. I think it's just one of the top e commerce sites. It's
Mm-hmm.
extremely
It
easy to
is.
use, it's very intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
It has a blog, it is pretty SEO friendly, and it
Mm-hmm.
does have a marketplace of tons of plugins and
Mm-hmm.
extensions that you could add to enhance the functionality of your site. And again, it's not open source, so you don't have to worry about the hacking situation.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that again, only downside is if you got to think about scale. So if you have a small e-commerce shop, you're
Mm-hmm.
selling, 5 products to maybe even a couple hundred products. It's a great place.
Mm-hmm.
But if you over time expect to have thousands and eventually millions of annual visitors to your site, or let's say you have a big appearance on a TV show, we've heard
Mm-hmm.
the term the Oprah effect.
Mm-hmm.
Your site could potentially crash because you're sharing bandwidth, you're sharing your site
Mm-hmm.
and you're hosting with thousands of other websites.
Mm-hmm.
So Shopify is a great starter point for e-commerce. And then, if you're a huge brand, let's say
Mm-hmm.
adidas.com, you need to go get something custom
Yeah.
after Shopify.
I find Shopify to be great too because they're low cost They you get 14 days free,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're low cost after you reach your 14 days. So.
Exactly, which is perfect. And we haven't even talked about cost, but Wix has a free version.
Mm-hmm.
WordPress.com has a free version. WordPress.org, again, you need to go through a hosting service like GoDaddy or HostGator, and then you might be paying like $10 a month. Shopify, I think, starts around 25 a month after you get off of the trial. And then the last site I want to talk about is Squarespace. So, Squarespace, I like. For a couple of reasons. One, if you are a nonprofit or a membership association and the people managing the text in the site or the images or
Mm-hmm.
events change hands on an annual basis, Squarespace is an excellent option for
Okay.
that because similar to Wix, it's a what you see is what you get interface. It's not as Wix is probably more on the drag and drop side than Squarespace is, but you can plug a lot of elements in with
Mm-hmm.
Squarespace. It's also SEO friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it starts at probably about, I think, 18 or so dollars a month to get started. And it's a great place also for e-commerce. If you are
Mm-hmm.
doing e-commerce, it's a great place. But again, it's all about scale. So over time, if your site starts upticking and getting a lot of hits, you're going to get outages unless you move to a private hosting, private server
Mm-hmm.
situation. So, those are the great options. I think in terms of top four. Marika, do you have anything else to add?
For those of you that don't know what SEO is, she's mentioned that word a lot. Would you like to tell us what that means?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll mention that and then we'll kind of end on that
Okay.
note. So SEO, search engine optimization, is just about getting your website ranked. So and in terms of ranking, I usually talk about Google because Google is still our number one search engine. There's still probably over 70%
Mm-hmm.
of people go to Google first to surf the web and search for things. And really, the big thing is you want your site to appear when people not only type in the name of your company, but if they type in your industry or what you do and they're in your local area, you want to pop up. And then over time, beyond your local area. So that's what SEO is. All right, guys, so I think we're over 10 minutes. That's our first 10-minute marketing. If you have questions, feel free to send me a message. You could also join my membership site, soniacrystal.com. I have office hours for our subscribers on there and for people that are taking part of the Facebook marketing and online marketing courses available. And I look forward to talking with you guys again soon. Thanks.